You and I both saw that coming, right? Jude just smiled. He's in. Cordelia was also thrilled that their little plan actually worked. She mocked the idiot for looking down on her just because he thought she was weak. Quickly cutting her hand, she let her blood spill onto the magic circle on the floor. She activated Valstam's magic, and glowing chains began to bind Minus's body. Panicking, he screamed, asking what these chains were and where they came from. Cordelia explained that this was a magic seal. Even Lizigan would struggle to escape. The stronger the demon is, the more effective this magic circle becomes. Minus was furious, refusing to believe this simple circle could hold him. Cordelia gripped her staff tight, acting like she was totally fine. But in reality, she was pushing herself to her absolute limit. Only her raw magic power was keeping Valstam's magic circle active right now. She couldn't just chug potions like a video game, so time was running out. But she smiled, knowing she'd bought enough time for him. Jude immediately rushed the enemy, ignoring the frost forming all around him. Minus unleashed his ice magic, a soul-devouring yin energy meant to freeze Jude solid. A normal person would have been turned into an ice statue by that intense energy. The big difference here, Jude was already used to dealing with yin energy. Minus couldn't believe his eyes as Jude escaped the ice prison instantly. Preparing to strike, our main character asked the enemy if he liked yang energy. Clutching the sun necklace, he unleashed several heavy blows on Minus's face. Lucas watched in awe as the main character pulled off these combos. He knew Jude's illness usually prevented martial arts training, but this was insane. After landing the final hits, Jude jumped back from the half-demon. And trust me, you and I just witnessed a total game changer. Let's jump in. That circle's definitely weakening him after his recent battle. Jude's shocked he's still up against Ronan. Since becoming a half-demon, his physical stats spiked, and his durability blew past human limits. But as Jude strikes, Minus shuts him down with just one hand. The beast is recovering fast, gathering mana for a massive magic attack. Cordelia screams for Lucas to help before Minus unleashes his ice magic. Lucas grabs a blade and charges. Seeing him, Minus tosses Jude aside. Lucas lands a brutal slash, nearly taking off the demon's left arm. Jude recovers and spots something. Lucas's sword is starting to glow intensely. This is a legendary ancient technique, exclusive to the direct Respel line. This is an ancient sword technique, reserved only for the Respel family. Legend says this style was inspired by the blade of Holy King Grahan. With it, he slew 5 great demons and founded an entire kingdom. Pay attention here, Minus is about to lose his cool completely. He calls them insects, who are nothing without that magic circle. As they clash, Cordelia is spitting blood, her vision starting to fail. Her head is spinning so fast she can't even see the fight. The mana drain is way worse than she feared. She's running empty. Suddenly, Jude shouts her name, desperate to know if she's all right. Cordelia snaps to, admitting she's at her limit. The circle is breaking. The circle is failing. Jude looks at her. It's time to act now. It's their last desperate card. He asks if she can really pull it off. She takes a breath and grins. Of course she can. Who's he talking to? She's always the one carrying him in a battle, after all. Meanwhile, Lucas is busy smashing every ice shard Minus throws his way. The demon is fuming, screaming about how an insolent human dares defy him. With a killer glare, he fires a massive wave of ice stones. You and I can see Lucas is struggling. This demon's power is unreal. Even with his core sealed, this monster's magical reserves feel absolutely bottomless. But Lucas shakes off the doubt. He can't afford to retreat. He won't retreat. If what young Master Jude said is actually true, he must keep the demon trapped within the bounds of the circle. Jude ties the sun necklace to his hand and closes his eyes. This is it, the one strike that needs to end this battle. From the sidelines, Cordelia knows she only has one shot at this. Jude is charging the Thunderfist, waiting for Minus to show an opening. If she misses, well, she or Lucas are definitely becoming demons. If she fails, both she and Lucas will turn into demonic monsters. The problem is her vision is blurry, and she can't even aim. She closes her eyes. There's no other way. She has to trust her gut. She'll rely on pure sound and intuition to land this final blow. She starts to focus, listening carefully to every moment of the fight. She tracks every blow to know exactly who is who right now. She hears the ice shatter as a heavy blade cuts the frost. Trust me, you and I won't want to miss what happens next. Stick with me, we're dropping right into a brutal, high-stakes finale. A massive sword strike shatters an ice wall, sending shards flying everywhere. Suddenly, the sound of someone being shoved back echoes. It's now or never. Cordelia knows it's time. She raises her staff and shatters the binding spell. Minos watches the chains vanish, thinking the girl's power finally hit its limit. He believes the seal is broken, while Lucas watches the chaos with pure dread. The seal was their only edge, but then a voice screams out a spell. Cordelia begins her final chant. She slams her staff down with everything she has. A blinding light erupts from the ground as mana surges into her weapon. Energy swirls around the staff, a flash so intense it blinds everyone nearby. Minos shields his eyes, cursing this girl and her endless supply of tricks. He thinks it's just moonlight, but Jude has something much more dangerous ready. Jude holds up the sun necklace, absorbing every drop of that moonlight energy. Now pay attention here, this is where the plan gets absolutely genius. The necklace drinks the light. Minos can only watch in total confusion. Suddenly, his skin begins to sizzle. Jude walks up, calm as can be. Blocking is useless. This is centuries of lunar magic fused with divine power. The artifact carries the pure strength of the sun god Solari itself. Jude jokes that their old gear was basic, but this is special. He calls it a lightsaber from Star Wars, leaving everyone else totally lost. Cordelia just snaps at him to stop talking and finally end this nightmare. She's exhausted. Minos frantically looks for a way to escape this deadly light. He tries to run for cover, hoping to find a place to hide. But Jude isn't letting him go. He yells, asking exactly where he thinks he's going. A spell traps the ground, making the demon slip and crash hard. Jude closes the distance in a heartbeat, ready to deliver the final blow. Minos can't believe the speed. He starts to tremble as the end approaches. Jude prepares his thunderblow. The air itself feels like it's about to explode. Cordelia gives the signal, a cold thumbs down. Game over, idiot. Jude slams the thunderblow directly into the center of the demon's chest. The impact is massive. The entire floor starts cracking from the raw force. Lucas is stunned. He's never seen a strike that powerful from anyone before. Minos lies motionless. Jude lets out a breath, thinking the nightmare is over. But let's pause. You and I know it's never actually that easy, right? Cordelia tries to stay upright, her mana reserves completely drained and empty. Suddenly, she's hit with a wave of pure terror. Something is very wrong. Her instincts scream at her. She yells for Jude to watch his back. Minos moves. A hand reaches out as the demon begins a dark incantation. Jude freezes in shock. There is no way this monster should be moving. Minos was designed to be unbeatable, a boss that players could never conquer. Even the Queen of Battles couldn't take him down in the game. But this world isn't a game anymore. The rules have completely changed. Minos looks at his own arm as it starts to rot and crumble. He screams in denial. This can't be happening. He won't lose like this. And that's why we love Jude. He just smiles, knowing he's won. All right, stick with me. You're about to watch Minos lose it as the main character closes in. He just keeps smiling, channeling a massive spell through that sun necklace in his hand. Then he hurls the necklace at Minos's face. Lucas blinks as the intense light suddenly blinds him. The light is overwhelming, but as it fades, he blinks to see the aftermath of the explosion. Right there in front of Jude, the demon literally starts crumbling into glowing dust, piece by piece. And check this out, level up effects start flashing all around him. Victory achieved. Exhausted and barely standing, he turns around. His vision is heavy, but he has to tell Cordelia. He says it's finally over. But then Jude and Lucas freeze. Pay attention, everything changes here. Cordelia is lying there, motionless on the cold ground. There's blood everywhere and she's barely breathing. Jude just stands there completely paralyzed. This can't be happening, not to her, not after they won. He starts screaming her name, stumbling toward her body. Everything around him starts to fade to black. His eyes are blurring with tears, but he won't stop begging for her to just say something. Lucas rushes over, shouting, trying to grab him, but Jude is in his own world of pain. He can't hear a single word. His entire soul is focused on whether Cordelia is still alive. Lucas catches him as he collapses. Jude whispers one final plea to save her before his world goes dark. Please save her. His eyes finally snap shut. That's when the system messages start flooding the screen. Even then, he only thinks of her. And just like that, the main character is out cold. The next morning, Jude jolts awake, screaming Cordelia's name. He's finally back from the brink. He finally settles down. His personal maid, Maya, is right there by his side, looking worried. Dazed, he wonders if they're still in Langhaste. When Mia calls him, he slowly turns toward her. See the look in her eyes. She's terrified, thinking her young master would never wake up again. She was absolutely petrified. Watching her master on the edge of death was just too much for her. With a shaky voice, she tells him it's a massive relief he's awake and asks how he feels. Jude says he's just a bit sore but tells her not to worry. He's more concerned about her. Maya nods, crediting Dahlia for keeping her safe during the chaos, but her face tells a different story. She looks ghost-white. Jude notices immediately and asks if she even closed her eyes last night. She insists it's her duty to stay by his side until he's fully recovered. Pure loyalty right there. Jude thanks her and asks about the others. Lucas, he's already been moved to the hospital. And Cordelia, she's still out, but Dahlia took her to get first aid immediately after the fight. The doctors say she just pushed herself too hard. With enough rest, she'll make a full recovery. Lots of people were hurt, but the invaders have been cleared out. The threat is finally gone. Knights and mages are already on the scene, cleaning up the mess and securing the area. Hearing all of this, Jude finally feels the weight lift off his chest. He can breathe again. Suddenly, he feels a hand on his. Maya looks at him with those sparkling, hopeful eyes. She mentions Cordelia is resting, but actually woke up just a little while ago. Huge news. Then she drops the suggestion. Since he's awake, why not go see her right now? Jude knows there's no way he can say no after she's made such a big deal. He sighs, knowing this just fuels Maya's romantic fantasies, but he really needs to see her. As she leads him toward the room, Jude feels like he's forgetting something important. He wonders what it was. Then, Jude finally enters the room. Once inside, Dahlia tells them they'll wait outside. They should talk as much as they want. They leave and shut the door behind them. Jude looks at Cordelia and asks if she's all right. Silence. She doesn't answer him, looking as pale as a corpse as she lies there perfectly still. Jude sighs in relief that she's safe. Then she speaks, and trust me, you'll want to hear this. Trust me, he sighed in relief she was not hurt. Cordelia admitted she had used Stick with me. We're diving back in as our heroes recover from that insane fight. Jude Bell asks if her head feels like a hangover. She just stares back. She asks what he just said. He repeats, does it feel like a hangover? Cordelia has no clue what a hangover even is, so she just says, maybe so. Jude Bale notes her reactions are slow and tells her she really doesn't look well. He says if it's that rough, she should probably just stay lying down. She claims she's better, but inside, she's still wondering what a hangover even is. Jude Bile then asks if she heard the announcement before she blacked out. She is totally lost and asks him exactly what he means by that. Your new title, he says. Cordelia perks up despite being completely exhausted. She thought she was hallucinating from fatigue, but she actually gained a new title. Was she hearing things? Was it really the title that makes the impossible possible? Jude Bale smiles and confirms that it's exactly the one she's thinking of. Cordelia's thrilled. In the original game, this would have caused a massive scene. Trust me, it's absolutely massive. Seeing her act like this, Jude Bale is relieved she's actually doing all right. Suddenly, he gets an itch to tease her just a little bit more. He asks if she has anything to say about him, leaving the finishing blow for her. She snaps back asking if that matters. He admits it helped her get that title. But he goes quiet when she mentions that Adario is actually still alive. Viola and Felix were rescued, along with over 30 mages and knights. Excitedly, she tells him that while some were hurt, nobody actually died. Even among the brave knights, not a single one was seriously injured. Jude Bell just listens. In the game, many died here, but now, everyone survived. You and I both know how rare a perfect happy ending is. They've saved everyone and are finally reaching a perfect happy ending. Jude Bell stands still for a moment, then gently reaches out for her hair. And then, he suddenly starts shaking her head back and forth repeatedly. She snaps, "What are you doing, you bastard?" Jude Bale says she was just being so admirable he couldn't help himself. He sits down, admitting he's just happy they both made it out alive. She asks if he's already planning. He says for now, the game story continues. If that's the case, they'll avoid the demon hand and head into the northern forest. Is it to the north, she asks. He says yes. According to his plan, the northern border holds the cure for his condition. There is an object there that can completely heal his 9 paths of yin blockage. Cordelia mentions the northern border belongs to the county of Hezbollah. Jude Bale notes they'll need Lucas's help to reach that northern border safely. But as soon as he says the name Lucas, they both start wondering what they're forgetting. They suddenly look at each other, eyes wide. It finally hits them. They completely forgot about Sylvia. Now Sylvia is bawling her eyes out, calling them both super mean. She cries, asking how they could just leave her out like that. Cordelia starts crying too, since she's the type to cry when others do. You and I just saw one wild ending. Trust me, you and I are watching the main character struggle to remember. Usually, Jude has a perfect memory, so this situation is honestly beyond strange. He started wondering what could possibly make him totally forget about Sylvia like that. Turns out he was just too focused on Cordelia. Meanwhile, Sylvia was still sobbing. She was terrified. The noises outside were loud and she kept screaming for help. But no one came. She honestly thought she was losing her mind in there. Then it clicked. Cordelia had set up a magic circle to block all the noise. Just then, Dale arrived with news. A knight from Sylvia's family had finally arrived. It was time for her to go. The poor girl was finally leaving. Cordelia apologized through tears, while Sylvia was carried away by a soldier. Then Cordelia turned on Lucas. She demanded to know what he was doing. Why didn't he help? Lucas looked ashamed, but Jude already knew the real reason. It was obvious. Cordelia's silence magic had worked a little too well on him. He literally could not tell anyone Sylvia was trapped. What an awkward moment. The knights had dragged him straight to the hospital while he was still muted. Jude figured he rushed back the moment he was healed. He seems like a really nice guy. Dale apologized too. She actually hid the news about Miss Sylvia on purpose. She feared a kidnapping and did not want to worry them while they recovered. Cordelia said it was fine, then immediately blamed young Master Lucas for the whole mess. Jude realized he had to step in before she ruined their relationship with him. They needed his help to go north. Fighting now would be a massive problem. He turned to Lucas and casually asked how his recovery was coming along. Lucas said he was doing great after the magic healing. He felt fine now. But then he had a question. He wanted to know about the 9 pathways. Specifically, if the blockage was still there. Jude confirmed it was still a problem. Lucas was stunned. Using that level of martial arts while that sick is insane. Now, watch closely. Lucas asks a question that could change Jude's whole world. Jude stayed quiet as Lucas explained the Respel lands are in the far north. Far beyond the borders, there is a legendary frozen island colder than death. It is a place of extreme, unbearable cold that few can survive. Cordelia and Dale leaned in as Lucas shared a secret that shocked them. On that island, there is a hidden method that can cure Jude's blocked pathways. Jude was grateful, but he had to ask why Lucas was sharing this. The answer was simple. Lucas felt like he finally met his first rival. Even if it sounds cheesy, he never had anyone his age to challenge. People thought he had it all, but being a top genius is lonely. To keep growing, he needs someone to push him toward the next level. That is the dream he has been chasing his entire life. Jude asked if the genius of the Respel family really considered him an equal. Lucas did not hesitate. He looked him in the eye and said yes. Internally, Jude was dying of embarrassment, but he told Lucas it was an honor. Maintaining a straight face, Lucas admitted that this was a pretty sudden proposal. He told Jude to take some time and answer tomorrow in the hall. Jude was confused. Why the conference hall? What is happening tomorrow? Darius interrupts and trust me, you and I must watch this. All right, you and I are about to see how our genius main characters handle the aftermath of this massive battle. The children from the 12 families were still in a total daze while waiting for their reinforcements to show up. The threat isn't over yet, and more attacks could happen at any second. That's why Duke Lucas is calling a conference. They need to discuss that brutal ambush. There are injuries everywhere, and many of the victims are just kids. It's a total mess. Mentally, people are falling apart. They just can't process the horror of what happened. To give everyone a breather, the Blue Lion Knights suggested holding the meeting tomorrow night instead. Jude was curious, though. What exactly did the Duke mean by tomorrow night? Lucas explained they needed to account for the fight with the demons, so their presence was absolutely mandatory. Our main character agreed, saying he'd give a final answer after the conference. Lucas said he'd wait, then gave a quick wave and left. Jude watched him go, knowing every little piece of his plan was falling perfectly into place. Later, Cordelia asked why he was playing hard to get if they were heading north anyway. Jude explained he needed to look hesitant. After all, the legendary Lucas had been waiting for years. He wanted the Duke to worry that he might actually turn down the offer. Cordelia looked skeptical. Did he really think the Duke was that desperate? Now pay attention, because here's where they have to start getting creative with their lies for tomorrow. How exactly were they going to explain defeating Minus? Even with Lucas's help, Minus was way too powerful for just the three of them to handle alone. Cordelia wondered if they could just say Minus was already exhausted from the previous fight. They could claim he was weakened after battling Ronan before they even stepped onto the field. Jude thought that could work, but his real concern was those forged documents they'd been carrying. Even though they brought them just in case, the mages told them it wasn't even necessary. So he asked Cordelia what she did with the papers. Did she still have them? She admitted the mages refused them, so she made sure to burn every single page in secret. That was a huge relief. Since the Blue Lions were tracking his father, Jude had an idea. He decided it was time to finally reveal one of his hidden trump cards. When Cordelia asked which one, he leaned in and whispered the plan directly into her ear. He'd handle most of the storytelling, and she'd just need to jump in with some extra details later. She gave a confident smile. That would be a piece of cake. He could count on her. Jude checked on her, asking if her head was still spinning or if she needed more rest. She promised she was fine as long as she stayed sitting down in that chair. Let's pause here. She says she's fine sitting down, but then immediately starts questioning his magic style. Jude was confused. He'd just used the magic circles on his gloves to create a slippery zone. But Cordelia insisted he did it all wrong. It's about the style, not just the magic. If you're using gloves like that, you have to act like a real flame alchemist, obviously. She actually stood up to strike a dramatic pose, showing him exactly how it should be done. She told him to watch closely and not to mess up the aesthetic next time he fights. Jude stared at her, wondering if these were really the last thoughts she had before passing out. He thought she was being serious for a second. Why was the posing so important to her? She looked disappointed, telling him that looking cool was actually the most vital part. Then she mentioned there was one more thing on her mind, but she was struggling to remember. Jude watched her carefully. She didn't just look distracted, she actually seemed pretty anxious. He called out her game name, Yellowstorm, to get her attention. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Stick with me, we're jumping into the nervous aftermath of a boss fight. She gives a tight smile, looking away while trying to hide her exhaustion. They barely beat Minus. Her body is drained, but sleep just won't come. He gets it. After the relief of winning comes the dread of the future. Finishing a quest is great, but worrying about what's next is always there. Sure, they took down Minus, but he was really just the first boss. There's zero guarantee they'll successfully survive the next big event in their way. Both of them realize their current power isn't enough to keep them alive. Jude starts cooking up more detailed plans to stay ahead of the game. Cordelia knows she needs to get stronger. She looks at him with total excitement, declaring they're on the same page and need to give it their absolute best. He agrees, though internally, he's not so sure they're actually thinking the same thing. Cordelia then shouts that their worries are over since they're the top players. They're the best, they'll figure it out. Next, she asks about their escort. She wonders who's being sent to guide them and if he has any ideas. Jude isn't sure, maybe some powerful knights, he really can't say for certain. Deep in the woods, an old man is screaming, desperate to keep moving forward. If only he had a bit of power left. Then, someone approaches him slowly. The old man keeps ranting about how people always stand in his way. Count Chase calls him out as suspicious, wandering the woods like a total creep. With a face like that, he's probably a demon follower. Cut to 8 p.m. Watch closely. Jude slams the table and claims he found the fairy queen. The room goes silent. Everyone just stares as Commander Barrusso glares at him. He wanted an explanation about the half-demon murder, not some fairy tale story. He asks what Jude is blabbering about. Jude just tells them to listen. He knows it sounds crazy, but asks them to listen as he starts. He claims that while traveling, he and Miss Cordelia were relaxing by a stream. The moon was gorgeous. Everything felt magical under the cover of the night sky. But honestly, what really caught his eye was the beauty of Cordelia's smile. It was shining in the moonlight. Meanwhile, Cordelia is standing there in total shock. You saw that too, right? Cordelia is absolutely losing it right now. Jude keeps going. Apparently, he wasn't the only one captivated by Miss Cordelia. He stepped away for a second, and that's when the actual fairies appeared. The fairy queen herself invited her. And being the gentle soul she is, Cordelia couldn't say no. But then, a bicorn showed up and attacked them. Ronan and his friend are stunned. Are we talking about the demonic beast? They ask if he's seriously talking about those two-horned demonic monsters. Jude just nods. They're known to harass fairies. Then he starts describing the fight. He goes into detail about the struggle. Ronan is listening with his jaw dropped. Our main character keeps piling on details, while Cordelia stares in total disbelief. She's thinking, how can this guy lie so much? 2 whole hours pass. Finally, Jude concludes that with the queen's help, they finish the demon off. Barrusso scoffs, saying fairies are just for kids and storybooks. But then Ronan's friend speaks up. This powder, it's definitely from a bicorn horn. Trust me, with that chaos powder found, this story just got very real. All right, you and I are diving into a world where fairies are as rare as unicorns. They were actually staring at a real fairy horn. Ronan mentioned there were even glowing traces of moonlight on that wand. Even with its power drained, the magic still felt like pure lunar essence. Jude shot a smug. Satisfied look toward the commander, who was still processing if such a legendary thing could even be real. In the game, only Cordelia could ever meet fairies. No one else had a shot. Since they were so rare, nobody could actually fact-check any of this info. To convince Barrusso, Jude played his biggest card and revealed his source, his father. He knew Barrusso wouldn't believe him if he mentioned the fairy queen herself. So he had no choice but to use his father's heavy reputation instead. He was confident his old man would roll with it. His father always had now here is the trick. His dad would cover for him if the reason was good. That was his ultimate ace. Jude finished by explaining how they secured the victory. The room was buzzing. If we are talking about Miss Cordelia, then even fairies might actually show up. Meanwhile, Cordelia was dying of embarrassment from all the praise. She heard people saying even women were enchanted by her beauty, so Jude must be telling the truth. Commander Barrusso finally accepted it, saying everything was now fine. Jude was hyped that his lie worked, but Cordelia was still cringing internally. Barrusso mentioned that while they were safe, the half-demon's goals were still unknown. He suggested they head to their quarters to rest until the reinforcements finally arrived. Once the meeting broke up, Jude and Cordelia talked as Sylvia approached them. Cordelia turned the moment he called out. He apologized for being too busy to greet them earlier and thanked her for saving his life during the chaos. Now you and I know Cordelia, she just said friends help each other out. Silvio noted she seemed okay now. The demon fight sounded terrifying to him, but he was dying to hear more about those legendary fairies they mentioned earlier. He asked if she'd share the details, and Cordelia was more than happy to. She promised to tell him everything. Then she pulled Viola into the conversation too, insisting she shouldn't just stand there alone. The girls started chatting away immediately. Jude slowly backed off, letting the group enjoy their time together in peace. He went looking for Lucas, who suddenly appeared right in front of him. Lucas asked if Jude's issues were settled. Jude could see Lucas was visibly anxious, so he decided to target another one of the man's hidden emotional weaknesses. Jude confirmed it, then added that beyond finding a cure for his own illness, he was honored Lucas saw him as a rival. Lucas was totally stunned. Jude knew a secret. Since childhood, Lucas had been obsessed with classic hero stories. Jude's words were actually a direct quote from one of Lucas's favorite books. It was a line the rival said to the hero in Heroic Legends. That book by Bill Teen made Lucas feel as if he were the hero. Jude reached out, saying he was just starting his path but would meet expectations. Lucas shook his hand firmly and said he would be waiting up in the north. Suddenly, Daria spotted them and watched the two young men with intense curiosity. She observed the exchange between young Master Jude and the powerful Duke Lucas. Later that night, Cordelia burst into Jude's room with a massive shout. "Trust me, you and I need to see what Cordelia yells about next." "All right, you and I are about to see Cordelia freak out over following Lucas. He's heading north to cure his blocked pathways, but Cordelia is worried about herself." Jude's confused, but Cordelia explains that their families are sending someone very soon. She needs a rock-solid excuse to go north, otherwise she is getting dragged home. She reminds him of what Daria said earlier, and trust me, it wasn't helpful. Daria noticed how happy Lucas was and assumed Jude was ditching Cordelia for him. She even asked if Cordelia would feel lonely being left all by herself while they left. Cordelia didn't get it at first, but Daria made the reality very clear. Since Jude was going north, Cordelia would have no choice but to return home. That's the problem. Cordelia's panicking, asking Jude what on earth she's supposed to do. Jude just closes his book, acting cool, saying he was waiting for her question. He was invited, so obviously she's coming too, but Cordelia still doesn't see the catch. Pay attention here, Jude tells her to just repeat that dramatic act from last time. She freezes, telling him to wait. There is no way she's doing that again. Jude keeps teasing, saying once those blocked pathways are cured, she'll be a hero. People will be hugging her, carrying her, and throwing her high in the air. He's smiling like a maniac, promising to handle all the people coming for her. He tells her to put on a great show. Cordelia, she is absolutely fuming. Cordelia grumbles that he's incredibly annoying, but Jude just doubles down on the charm. She screams, "Love my freaking ass." A few days later, we see Cordelia writing a letter about their recent adventures. 4 days have passed since that brutal demonic hands attack shook everyone to the core. The knights finally arrived to escort Sylvia and Viola back to their family estates. It's a sad goodbye, but Cordelia is certain their paths will cross again soon. Felix and the other nobles head out, leaving only Jude, Cordelia, and Lucas behind. The heavy hitters from the Bale and Chase families are arriving by tomorrow morning. Cordelia stops writing and sighs. She's dreading the embarrassing act she has to perform. The next day arrives, and you won't believe who actually showed up in person. Now let's pause. Ardu is stunned that her father actually showed up personally. She's shocked to see her dad and her brother-in-law joining this reunion. Jude's brother, Gale, approaches and says he's heard all about their recent crazy adventures. He notes that Jude seems way stronger now and asks if he's doing all right. Jude says he's fine but asks why they're here. Gale whispers the secret reason. Since Count Chase came personally, the Bale family had to send their successor too. Arthur mentions rumors about Jude and Cordelia taking down a half-demon. Jude confirms it's true. They really did face off against that monster. He explains how they won with Lucas and the wizards from the tower. The Count asks if Jude was too weak to handle it all alone. He says he can't just stand by, while Jude looks this frail and helpless. He hands Jude a gift, acting like it's no big deal and totally not special. He insists he didn't prepare it specifically for Jude, but we know the truth. Cordelia nudges Jude, telling him to stop taking gifts and start the main plan. Arthur and Gale both turn their full attention to Jude when he calls them. Jude says he has something very important to discuss with both of them. Stick with me, this talk changes everything. All right, you and I are about to embark on a long journey. Jude accepted immediately, since it was a personal request from Lucas himself. His brother stepped in, promising to organize a dedicated escort team. Meanwhile, Cordelia was clearly fidgeting, trying to find her chance to speak. Suddenly, the Count was caught off guard when she started yelling out. She screamed that she wanted to stay by her beloved man's side. She even mentioned a promise to lift her up high, leaving everyone silent. Everyone stared at her. Gale tried to speak but was totally frozen. He saw her hiding behind Jude and thought she was incredibly cute. Arthur doubted if a weakling like Jude could really protect his daughter. He decided to prepare some items for Jude before they set off. Since Jude was way too skinny, he was told to eat up. Jude thanked his new father-in-law for the generous help. Stick with me, because this is where the team starts to assemble. Gala turned her down because she was not a knight yet. Jude also agreed and told her it was too dangerous to come. She promised to wait and mentioned a package from Count Chase. He asked what it was, and she handed him a small box. It was a brand new engagement ring for the happy couple. He would wait for the perfect moment to give it to her. Dahlia asked Mia if she could borrow the next book volume soon. Mia agreed to send it before she headed back home again. After saying their goodbyes, she departed back to the mansion to work. Dahlia prepared to leave, but Jude needed to see Lucas first. He had something vital to discuss with him before they left. Lucas was shocked, asking if he meant the deadly witch's forest. Jude claimed the fairy queen said Cordelia's destiny was hidden inside. Pay attention here, you and I are watching a master manipulator work. Lucas realized this meant they would have to change their entire route. He warned that many monsters appeared in that dark, haunted forest. As an escort, it was difficult to recommend such a risk. Jude knew it was dangerous, but he had a story prepared. He claimed a poor witch's soul was sealed away by evil. And only Cordelia had the power to break that ancient seal. Cordelia awkwardly agreed, knowing the fairy queen never said any of that. However, it was true that a special quest for her waited inside. Jude's eyes sparkled as he promised a legendary event for the group. Lucas got fired up as they discussed fighting monsters like the bighorn. Jude framed the whole thing as part of their grand adventure. Cordelia added that it felt just like a classic hero story. With trustworthy knights by their side, the journey seemed like a plan. Lucas was completely lost in his own heroic and grand fantasies. He was picturing epic hero stories, brave knights, and a new adventure. While they successfully tricked him, the guard watched them very closely. Trust me, you and I are definitely going to see this backfire. All right, stick with me, because our main characters just pulled off a massive gamble. They are officially changing the route to the witch's forest just for Lady Cordelia. Lucas is hyped, claiming it is a knight's duty to protect a lady at all costs. He tells her not to worry about a thing. A little embarrassed, she thanks him. Jude is just smirking in the background. He finally got to say those classic hero lines. It is like he just achieved a lifelong dream. Now, Cordelia and Jude watch them leave. As Lucas and the guards walk away, the two main characters exchange a knowing look. Cordelia admits she feels a bit guilty for the lie, and Jude actually agrees. But the main thing, their plan worked perfectly. Welcome to the infamous witch's forest. This place is actually the ancient forest of Trafalgar. Now pay attention, because this territory is absolutely crawling with monsters. Nobody lives nearby because of the danger, and the roads are too rough for carriages. The guards inform the group that the path ahead must be traveled on foot. They are sending the carriages back to the northern Viscount while they press on. Jude suggests to Lucas that they should finish their epic adventure before meeting the Viscount. Cordelia is just staring at him, thinking about how incredibly sly this guy is. He is totally playing Lucas, making him believe this is just a grand adventure. Lucas does not suspect a thing. He already trusts Jude completely. Cordelia is baffled. She wonders if Jude planned every single step of this long before they started. Everything feels off, especially that weirdly convincing tone of voice he used on Lucas. From his reaction during the meeting to suggesting they forge legal documents, it is suspicious. He even perfectly copied the handwriting of her father and Count Alex with ease. If he is doing all this just by relying on his charisma, something is up. You saw that too, right? She is starting to think Jude was a professional scammer. Jude looks at her, almost like he can read her mind and know her doubts. Jude claims he was just a normal citizen who followed every law and paid taxes. He tells her to stop thinking such weird things. Cordelia is shocked he paid taxes. He asks if she really wanted him to be a tax dodger. Cordelia is confused. First he mentions hangovers, and now taxes. This guy sounds like a hardworking adult. She starts wondering if he might actually be way older than her in reality. As they enter the forest, some goblins jump out, but the guards handle them easily. Lucas looks disappointed. He says this is not the epic adventure he had imagined. Jude just thinks that it is obvious. After all, they have elite guards with them. Of course it is easy when you are surrounded by powerful knights and guards. Suddenly, Jude notices Cordelia shaking. He asks if she got hurt in the fight. She snaps at him. If she had killed those monsters, the experience points were hers. What a total waste. Jude is now officially convinced that something is wrong with her. The knights report that they have cleared out all the monsters in the area. However, the fog is getting thicker and thicker as they move deeper into the woods. The atmosphere is changing. Jude watches the surrounding woods very carefully as they walk. He realizes the dangerous fog is finally rolling in just like he expected. He pulls out a rope and starts tying it securely around Cordelia's waist. She asks what he is doing. He says it is to keep her close. He jokes that he cannot let her run off and start biting people in the fog. As Lucas watches them, you and I have to wonder, is she actually going to bite him? All right, stick with me. Jude is about to use the most convenient excuse ever. Cordelia just grumbles that he really should have mentioned his plan a lot sooner. While she is complaining, Jude is busy noticing just how tiny her waist is. Then Lucas walks up, totally confused about why Jude is tying a rope to Cordelia. Jude explains it is for safety, then asks Lucas if he wants to be tied up too. He is actually excited about it, agreeing that it is the best way to stay together. Even the guards think they are adorable, while Lucas starts shouting about adventure time. Cordelia is not having it. She turns to Jude, absolutely fuming with anger. She snaps that everyone thinks they are just a cute couple, and she hates it. Soon, the three are moving carefully through the eerie shadows of the witch's forest. As the fog thickens, Cordelia starts feeling a real chill down her spine. She feels like eyes are on her, then suddenly bangs her head into Jude's shoulder. She asks why he stopped, but here's where it gets interesting. Pay attention. Jude realizes the environment has shifted, leaving Lucas wondering what the big deal is. Jude points out that the ground, the scent, and even the air feel totally different. This is not the Trafalgar Forest anymore, and even weirder, complete silence has fallen. Cordelia screams for Daria, while Lucas tries shouting to see if anyone answers. Cordelia realizes the fog is so thick they cannot see a single thing. But it is worse than that. They have been transported to a completely isolated place. They are in a separate dimension. Jude turns to a worried Lucas with a grin. Now, you and I both know that adventure in this world usually means trouble. Crows cry out as the mist finally starts to peel back from the trees. Suddenly, Cordelia stops dead. She spots a skeleton leaning right against a tree. Abandoned swords lie nearby. Jude leans in to inspect a dusty brooch on the corpse. It is ancient, but it carries the unmistakable emblem of the Guardians of the Holy Cross. Lucas is shocked, asking if these are the legendary protectors who work from the shadows. Jude confirms it. It looks like an entire group got trapped inside this barrier. It looks like they were stuck here for a long time before finally dying. Lucas panics, realizing that if they got in easily, they might never get out. Our main character tells him to chill, they just need to break the witch's seal. While they talk strategy, Cordelia is looking at the remains with a heavy heart. Suddenly, she shocks them both by casting a powerful earth digging spell. She tells them they cannot just leave these heroes here without a proper burial. With her magic, it will only take a moment to give them some peace. Lucas agrees, honoring the fact that these warriors gave everything to protect the land. Jude nods. Leaving them exposed like this would be a total disrespect to them. But as she is digging, her shovel hits something hard. She stops immediately. She wonders what it is, and Jude rushes over to check out the discovery. Buried right under the Guardians was an old wooden chest, hidden for years. Inside, they find a scroll and a book. Jude realizes the scroll is for demons. As for the book, it is a manual for legendary divine martial arts. Lucas tells Cordelia to take the scroll, while Jude handles the martial arts book. It makes sense since Jude is the swordsman here. Finally, the work is done. They finish burying every single one of the fallen Holy Cross Guardians. You and I know they are finally at peace. Watch what happens next. All right, you and I are back as they settle the debt with that spell book and a thank you. They credited everything to Cordelia's kindness, leaving Our Lady totally flustered and blushing. She brushed it off to keep the group moving, but suddenly the atmosphere shifts. A mysterious whisper echoes right inside Cordelia's head, while Lucas leads the way. She tells them to wait. Inside her mind, a strange voice is calling out her name. Jude senses the tension, and she admits she's hearing voices from the shadows. Pointing deep into the woods, she explains the voice is guiding her somewhere specific. It's leading them to a patch of ancient trees with massive, exposed roots. Pay attention here, a hidden witch is waiting, luring Cordelia deeper into the dark. Cordelia skips toward the voice happily, while the guys follow. Lucas is totally confused. He asks how she can hear anything at all. To him, it's dead silent. Jude just tells him to trust her for now. But internally, Jude realizes he can hear that creepy voice whispering too. The forest looks empty, but that mental message is definitely coming from a witch. He wonders if this was supposed to be a solo quest for Cordelia. Looking at Lucas's blank face, it's clear the knight is totally out of the loop. He starts questioning why he and Cordelia are the only ones tuned in. Maybe it's their connection to that gorgeous fairy queen, just a guess for now. Cordelia keeps it moving, announcing they've reached the cave where the witch is trapped. Lucas plays the protective knight, warning them about whatever might be lurking inside. Cordelia just beams at him. She's not worried. They just need to follow her lead. Jude decides to keep his mouth shut about hearing the voice too. You and I know why. He doesn't want to steal her spotlight as the hero. He wants her to have this win. As they walk, the voice gets louder. It tells her she's almost there. In the heart of the cave, they freeze. Right there, trapped in a massive pillar of ice, is the legendary witch. The witch is relieved they found her. She begs them to break the seal. Lucas is floored. There really is someone stuck inside that frozen crystal. As the witch starts her long explanation on how to free her, Cordelia interrupts. She already knows the drill. No need for a tutorial here. She lays out the plan. They need to weaken the four corner stones. Some holy water and a specific magic circle in the middle should do it. The witch is stunned. How does this girl know her specific sealing ritual? She just rolls with it. Cordelia starts splashing the holy water immediately. Jude jumps in to help. Lucas is just watching their perfect teamwork in awe. He's amazed at their chemistry. The witch tries to explain the magic circle. But Jude doesn't wait. He's already drawing the complex pattern on the floor. She's baffled. Is he some kind of secret master of sealing magic? Jude just plays it cool, acting like it's totally normal for him. Cordelia finishes her side and checks in. Jude is nearly finished with his. The witch just gives up. These two clearly know more than she does. Cordelia tells everyone to back up. It's finally time for the big moment. She pulls out a dagger. The air is thick with anticipation right now. A quick cut to her finger sends a drop of blood onto the circle. Lucas notices the ice cracking. Trust me, you and I need to see what's inside. You and I are witnessing a magic circle glow like never before today. Suddenly, an overwhelming weight fills the air. Jude senses something dangerous approaching fast. He looks back, asking about that noise. Something big is definitely coming. Cordelia realizes it is the dark entity suppressing the witch, exactly as told. Jude realizes the enemy has noticed the seal is finally being broken. Lucas asks if this will take much longer. He is getting nervous. Cordelia snaps that it takes time. She begs him not to rush her. The seal breaks slowly. Suddenly, childhood memories start flashing before her eyes. She remembers her father healing her knee, telling her to focus on him. He said blood is connected to the soul. For mages, it is priceless. The blood in your body holds incredible value. Remember that and stay safe. Take care of your body, he warned. Now, Cordelia grips her dagger. While Jude and Lucas prepare for battle, she makes a desperate choice. Now watch, she is about to do something absolutely insane to speed up. If blood connects to the soul, then more blood is the only way. A massive crack splits the ice. Suddenly, shards explode across the entire room. Jude watches closely as the ancient witch begins to levitate before them. She whispers it has been ages. Finally, she is tasting true freedom. She thanks Cordelia for breaking the agonizing seal after hundreds of long years. The moment she awaited is here. Cordelia tries to speak but hears a crash. The door is smashed. A red, menacing gaze filled with rage locks on. Cordelia grumbles about the timing. Meanwhile, the witch offers a bit of help. She approaches Cordelia, hugging her delicately while whispering a way to survive. Watch this, I know what you're thinking, but she accepts the soul now. Suddenly, Cordelia feels like thorny whips are tearing through her entire body. She breaks into a sweat, paralyzed as their souls begin to link. Far away, Daria feels a chill and turns, sensing something is wrong. With a bad feeling, Daria wonders where Miss Cordelia could be right now. Jude looks back, realizing this is exactly how the game progression goes. The witch binds herself to Cordelia to fight the monster before letting go. Once her restraints are gone, her soul will simply ascend to peace. By accepting her soul, Cordelia finally learns the legendary new witch form. This is a story event. Now, Cordelia's hair starts slowly changing color. She feels their souls merging. She opens her eyes as it finishes. Her appearance is totally different now. Even her clothes have shifted magically. Her hair turns black with green highlights and striking light green eyes. In this moment, she knows she is wielding the witch's true power. Jude thinks that with this borrowed power, Cordelia can defeat the beast. But he manages to learn one very important thing about her right now. Cordelia looks worried as she realizes the trouble they are in today. The monster is close. She curses, ready to fight for her life. Jude stands by her. They have to make every single second count. The enemy roars, shaking the entire room with its terrifying dark power. It is now or never. The final battle for survival begins right now. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next in this story. All right, you and I are diving into a major problem. How does she use this power? The witch looked at her in shock. How could she not know the basics? Cordelia just shook her head and begged her to reveal the secret tricks. The witch was confused. What are tricks? Jude Bale realized something right then. Yellowstorm is actually terrible at following the game story. Now they were running. They charged at the two-horned beast, while Jude Bale shouted to buy some time. The monster let out a deafening roar. Every heavy step literally shattered the earth. Jude Bale and Lucas stopped in their tracks. The main character watched the boss. Then, Jude Bale activated 36 heavenly steps to slip behind the giant monster. But the beast tracked him instantly and spun around. Jude Bale was totally stunned. He is way too fast. Stick with me here because this gets truly dangerous. Lucas yelled for him to move and threw his sword with insane force. It hit the boss's hand and bounced. Jude Bale used that second to escape. He thanked Lucas for the save. Lucas replied it was nothing, but they needed a plan. They had to get the sword back, but there was zero chance of doing that now. Jude Bale was worried. Even after leveling up against that half-demon, they were struggling. Vila's magic circle was useless since they had not prepared the terrain at all. In the end, they only had one option left. They had to trust Cordelia. Cordelia was struggling to tap into the witch's power. She was desperately trying. She kept chanting, "Take the mana. Use the mana, F key, over and over." She screamed for the magic to activate, but absolutely nothing happened. The witch just laughed. Annoyed, Cordelia snapped at her to stop laughing and just teach her the way. The witch apologized, saying Cordelia was just too cute. Then she drifted closer. "It is actually quite simple," she explained. "You just need to do this. Feel the flow slowly. Your body is just a vessel for this borrowed energy." Cordelia's eyes lit up. Suddenly, with the witch's guidance, a massive magic circle appeared. She aimed it straight at the monster. Meanwhile, Jude Bale just got blasted away. Lucas screamed out in worry. Cordelia took a breath and smiled with pure excitement. This is easy once you get it. Now the real fight is finally beginning. But she suddenly saw Jude Bale lying defeated and wondered how he lost so fast. "You and I saw that, right? Our main character just got wiped instantly." She pointed at the beast and yelled, "How dare you hurt him? You are dead." The monster's mouth began to glow. Lucas shouted that they were all in trouble. The boss started condensing mana in its maw to launch a massive fireball. However, Cordelia just flicked her wrist, and something absolutely incredible happened right then. The monster's mouth snapped shut. It still fired, but Cordelia redirected the blast. She sent the explosion upward. Rocks fell, but she caught them with wind magic. She made the boulders levitate in the air, then clenched her fist for the strike. She launched them all. A massive wind tornado trapped the howling, hateful monster. The beast screamed in agony. Meanwhile, Cordelia started bleeding from the intense strain. The witch warned her that she was not ready to control this power fully yet. "Do not just swing the power around," she said. "You must use your magic." Exhausted, Cordelia asked for a spell. The witch was shocked she didn't know one. "We are out of time," the witch said as the boss's massive hand appeared. "Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how she survives this. Stick with me, you are about to witness a desperate rescue in this manhwa." Jude Bale activates his fairy steps, just as the boss launches its attack. They teleport instantly, but Jude Bale refuses to let go of Cordelia. They hit the ground hard. He checks on her, but she just coughs up blood. The witch warns that reckless magic is making the side effects even more dangerous. Cordelia knows the risk, but she is the only one hearing the witch's voice. Suddenly, Jude Bale scoops her up and calls her name with real concern. She stares back at him, while Jude Bale keeps his eyes locked on hers. She smiles and tells him he should have just said something a bit sooner. Breaking the soul connection, she prepares to make a move that changes everything. She reminds him that she is the reason he wins before handing over her power. Now pay attention. Here is where our main character finally evolves. His hair grows long with green streaks as the power flows in. His eyes glow with intensity as the witch gives him a final warning. She says the sacred cross technique will clash with her power and cause huge damage. A massive side effect is coming, but Jude Bale says he knows the price. He looks at Cordelia, realizing he has no more time to prep a spell. Activating the sacred guardian magic, he bets everything on this one final desperate strike. The monster howls and charges forward while he prepares to unleash hell. He launches the spell, but the boss is too strong to be stopped easily. Jude Bale realizes the technique is fine, but his body is the problem. His 9 blocked yin paths are still holding him back from reaching his peak. The witch warns he will not survive if he keeps pushing himself like this. He is making the same mistake as the girl, but then something shocking happens. "You and I both saw that coming, right? Well, look at her now." Cordelia aims at the boss and prepares a magic missile with her last strength. She jokes that he cannot win without her as she fires the shot. All her remaining mana goes into this one arrow of pure magic energy. It strikes the monster right in the eye, making the massive beast lose balance. This was the opening Jude Bale needed. He starts gathering every bit of mana. The Golden Cross spell ignites, and he launches it directly at the monster's heart. On impact, the creature explodes, while Lucas watches the entire epic scene. The boss howls as sacred crosslight burns through its dark, cursed hide. The red glow fades, and its entire body starts to crumble into nothing. Lucas watches it turn to dust as the massive threat finally vanishes. It is just like the half-demon they fought earlier, total and complete destruction. He sees our main characters collapsed on the ground and rushes to help. System messages pop up, but Jude Bale is already out like a light. Cordelia sees they leveled up and got a new title before she fades out. The boss is dead and Lucas is safe. He asks if they are okay. She cannot even think straight and tells him she is going to sleep now. She passes out, leaving the rest to Lucas as the battle finally ends. The witch's voice echoes in Jude Bale's mind, telling him to wake up. He and Cordelia both snap awake at the exact same time, staring up. And that's where we leave it, trust me, this journey is just starting. Stick with me, we're about to see a surprisingly wholesome moment between these two. The witch notes how well they protect each other, even in this strange, dreamlike space. She explains that this is their mental world, while their physical bodies are fast asleep. Jude realizes that's exactly why they are standing together in this world right now. She agrees, then asks if they want to hear the truth about her tragic past. Cordelia says there is no need, because she already knows exactly what happened. The witch is stunned, asking if she even knows the real reason she was sealed away. Our main character confirms it all, leaving the powerful witch feeling pretty defeated and unheard. Realizing the witch is actually about to cry, Cordelia panics and rushes over to her. She backtracks fast, begging to hear every single detail as if she doesn't know anything. Suddenly excited again, the witch asks if she is actually serious about listening to her. The witch smiles and tells us to watch closely, as her story gets incredibly dark. A long time ago, a young child was sold for a mere 9 copper coins to be used as a sacrifice. That child was used as a demon's toy for her entire life, suffering through endless amounts of pain. Even after death, she was destined to wander in agony for all of eternity without any rest. Her own parents sold her, and the demons turned her into a slave with no way out. Despite having no choice in her life, the girl refused to accept such a miserable and cruel fate. She used her own broken body to hunt down and slaughter the demons that once held her. From that day on, the world began to fear her, calling her the legendary and powerful witch. As the years passed, she grew so strong that even the hellish lords noticed her presence. Among them was Modius, who planned to use her soul to wipe out all his rival lords. Without anyone knowing, he trapped the witch's soul deep inside the dense, mysterious Trafalgar Forest. He forced her to obey until the day he could carry out his grand plan. She laughs softly, mentioning her life story ended up being quite a long one. You and I both know the game summary was short, but the real story is heartbreaking. Jude reflects on how massive this lore really is, feeling the weight of her entire journey. It was so detailed and heavy that he almost felt like drifting off to sleep right there. The witch feels refreshed after finally sharing her life with someone else after so many years. She gently touches Cordelia's face, reminding her that the past is over and done with. Moving closer, she says it's time to focus on the future, calling her a special child. For a brief moment, their souls were linked, allowing the witch to see deep into her potential. She witnessed the incredible power hiding within her body, something far beyond what anyone could see. With a gentle kiss on the cheek, she tells Cordelia that her potential matches her own greatness. Our main character is flustered, wondering what on earth is happening in this dream. The witch explains she's left a trace of her essence inside her soul as a gift. She asks her to remember this feeling of power and use it to evolve her skills. Turning her attention to Jude, she says she has something important to tell him. Even though she wants to give him a gift, their powers just aren't compatible at all. Jude feels a little let down, but he nods in understanding as she continues her explanation. Instead, she clarifies that he possesses a completely different, yet equally amazing, kind of potential. He's completely stunned by her revelation. Then she looks up to the sky and mentions she has stalled for way too long. It's finally time to say goodbye. Her body starts turning into flower petals as she promises they'll meet again soon. Jude and Cordelia watch in awe as she tells them that this isn't a final goodbye. And trust me, you and I will definitely want to see what happens next. All right, stick with me. We're jumping into a moment that changes the entire game. The witch vanished after her speech, but her words meant the plot was changing. Cordelia finally opened her eyes to Daria's voice, asking if she was doing okay. Her mind was still fuzzy, reeling from that heavy conversation with the witch. Daria leaned in, checking again to see if Cordelia had any hidden injuries. Cordelia looked down at her bandaged hand and muttered that she felt just fine. Jude was sitting by the wall, noting that she was finally back with them. Daria reassured them that everyone made it out safe without any serious wounds. She was just about to update them on young Master Lucas's current status. Now watch this, our favorite hero fanatic is about to go totally off. Lucas was retelling the battle, describing how Jude heroically jumped for Cordelia. He called it an incredible scene, a true testament to their fated love. Daria whispered that he'd been rambling like this for over 30 minutes already. Cordelia just sat there, silently cursing him out with every insult she knew. Lucas finally noticed they were awake and rushed over to ask how they felt. After Cordelia nodded, he immediately went back to narrating their battle like legends. He kept calling it a hero's tale, while Cordelia realized he was a freak. Daria stood up, relieved they'd only fainted, and decided to call it a night. Everything was fine now, so she told everyone they'd head out tomorrow morning. They'd spend the night in the forest and return home once the sun rose. Lucas told Jude and Cordelia to focus on resting while they cleaned everything up. Jude agreed, sounding tired, but he secretly just wanted to check for monster loot. Cordelia caught him looking happy and realized exactly what was on his mind. You saw that smile, right? Jude is clearly obsessed with finding rare item drops. Lucas placed a hand on his chest, promising to retell the story in detail. He wanted to go over every single epic moment while the couple rested. The light was blinding, and Cordelia squeezed her eyes shut in total annoyance. She was screaming curses in her head, while Jude begged for some peace. By the next day, they were moving through the woods together once again. Lucas mentioned they'd be stopping at the Northern Viscount's mansion for a while. They were scheduled to meet some important family members once they arrived there. Jude asked if the guards from Seil County would be waiting for them. Lucas teased that a person he deeply respected was on their way there. Cordelia immediately wanted to know who it was, but he just smirked. He wouldn't give a straight answer, just saying he was anticipating a certain reunion. While riding in the carriage, Cordelia turned to Jude to guess who he meant. Jude just shrugged it off, but Cordelia noticed that smug look on him. She called out his idiotic expression and asked what that strange object was. He explained that it was a special gift his father had sent him. Jude mentioned he'd left it with Maya before they set out together. Furious, Cordelia asked why her own father was giving Jude more gifts. He told her to relax because there was actually a gift for her too. Her eyes lit up instantly as she asked if he was being serious. Jude confirmed it, noting that if one engagement ring exists, then obviously there must be two. Scowling, she twirled her hair. You and I need to see what's next. Stick with me, you're about to witness a super awkward engagement ring reveal. Jude opens the small box, only to hear the recorded voice of Count Arthur. He heard Jude fights with his fists instead of a sword, which is unusual. The Count removed the ring's gem, so Jude wouldn't hurt his hands while punching. He finishes by officially leaving Cordelia's safety and future in Jude's capable hands. After the voice fades, Cordelia teases him, "You'd better treat me well, mister." If he doesn't, she's going to tattle to her dad. Jude just scoffs at that. He tells her to get lost, noting he has a dad he can tattle to. She asks if he's being a child. He says he should ask her that. Jude changes the subject, pointing out a secret magic manual inside the box. These rings increase the magic power shared between the two users. His ring has healing magic, while hers focuses on defensive spells. There's even a special skill that improves if they wear them together. Cordelia admits it's a great ring. Jude agrees, but he's already plotting. He thinks it's super cute. His awesome father-in-law really has great taste. Watch closely, this is where the romantic tension starts to get real. He asks for her hand. She offers it immediately, but gets extremely nervous. Jude gently takes her hand and calmly slides the ring onto her finger. He admits he was terrified when she was coughing up blood in battle. Still holding her hand, he is just happy that her recent cuts have finally healed. He was worried about scars when he bandaged her, but healing magic is effective. Cordelia starts blushing furiously, not knowing how to handle his sudden sincerity. Jude asks what's wrong. She stammers that the ring is just very beautiful. He says it's only beautiful because her hands are so pretty and elegant. She blushes even more, claiming it's because she's the most beautiful character alive. While she wonders how long he'll hold her hand, the carriage suddenly jerks. The carriage jolts violently, causing her to lose her balance and fall on him. It jolts violently, causing her to lose her balance and fall right on him. Anites swings the door open to see if the two of them are doing okay. Now look at that, caught in a classic romantic cliché. You saw that right. He just looks back at the maid with no reaction at all. She tells them to go back to enjoying their moment of love. Cordelia wonders if these scenes only happen in manga or cheesy novels. Jude replies that they do, but this game world is full of clichés. They finally reach the Northern Viscount's mansion, where an old man greets them. He's glad they survived the chaos in Langus and are safe and sound. Lucas thanks him for the hospitality while they prepare to settle in. A maid notes their long journey and suggests they get some much-needed rest. She offers to lead them to their rooms so they can relax for now. But the Viscount mentions they make a beautiful couple, exactly like the rumors. Jude thanks him politely, while Cordelia feels incredibly awkward about the compliment. Once they're alone, she whispers that this Viscount isn't important in the original game. He seems like a decent guy. Jude agrees he's a pretty chill dude. Suddenly, something catches Cordelia's eye as Dahlia approaches them with some news. Dahlia approaches, "You and I need to see what's next." Jude asks if she's heading to her room, and she confirms she's turning in. She wonders about the knights, and Dahlia says their rooms are already settled. Bridge 1, stick with me, because those drinks downstairs are part of a deadly trap. Cordelia smiles, telling her to go have fun and eat well during the trip. Dahlia worries about leaving her mistress unguarded, but she follows her orders to rest. After Dahlia leaves, Lucas says his goodbyes and heads into his own room nearby. Jude is about to enter his room when Cordelia suddenly calls out to him. She makes a soft gesture, wishing him a peaceful night and very sweet dreams. Jude doesn't miss a beat, playfully telling her she better dream of him tonight. She's furious, asking what kind of crazy nonsense he's talking about this time. Deep in the night, while Jude is sleeping, a shadow appears at his window. Bridge 2, now pay attention. Here comes the part where the assassin's plan fails. The glass shatters, and an explosion goes off the second the window is broken. The intruder is flat on the floor, coughing his lungs out in the smoke. He gasps for air, wondering what happened, then looks at the empty bed. Seeing nobody there, he panics, wondering where Jude could have disappeared to. Jude takes advantage of the confusion and strikes the masked man from the shadows. A heavy kick to the head knocks him out cold as Jude checks him. The clothes match those cultists from the demonic hand who attacked them before. He realizes the survivors are back for revenge, and he needs to find Cordelia. Suddenly, Cordelia barges in, but she looks completely different than she usually does. Her hair is black with pink highlights, and Jude asks if she's all right. Bridge 3, watch closely. Cordelia's new look means she's ready for a serious fight. She activates a spell and points it straight at the intruders outside the room. Dozens of magic missiles fly out, slamming into more assassins at the window. "You bastards are dead for messing with my sleep," she screams in a rage. Jude mutters that she's definitely got a feisty side as they run out together. He asks if the potion effects are good, and she says they won't last. "We have to leave before this wears off," she says, rushing down the hall. She asks about the explosion earlier, and Jude admits he set a trap himself. He rigged his own window with explosives, leaving Cordelia in absolute shock. "Are you a spy?" she asks, but Jude just tells her she's being crazy. Jude realizes the tavern drinks were a trap to lower the Knight's Guard tonight. Everything leads to one conclusion: the Northern Count himself is the actual trap. On the first floor, they find Lucas fighting 3 masked men all by himself. Hearing his name, he turns just as Cordelia casts a slippery floor spell. The intruders lose their balance instantly, sliding across the room like total idiots. Lucas takes the opening and finishes off 2 of the cultists with his skill. The intruders lose their balance, giving Lucas the perfect opening he needs. He uses his special ability to instantly finish off 2 of the cultists. One last assassin tries to run away, but Jude is already moving fast. He trips him and ends the fight with a punch to the face. Jude sees Cordelia bolt out of the mansion and shouts for her to stop. She has a feeling that things are going very wrong out there. "Bridge 4, trust me, you and I are about to see Dahlia fight for her life. All right, you and I are about to watch this rescue mission go completely sideways." Jude warned her to be careful, but Cordelia was in a complete trance. She stood there paralyzed, watching the absolute chaos unfolding right before her eyes. Dahlia fought back hard, but a poisoned arrow suddenly pierced her right thigh. Cordelia screamed for her knights to fall back as she summoned her magic. She desperately tried to activate a fire circle to protect her people. But a heavy, invisible pressure suddenly pinned her to the earth. This strange force was crushing everyone inside the entire mansion. Cordelia collapsed as Dahlia begged her mistress to keep holding on. Jude realized this sensation of his body being crushed by an invisible force was a gravitational field. The Northern Viscount advanced toward them, calling them nothing but insolent fools. He mocked their victory over Minos, calling them absolute, arrogant fools. He mentioned King Spelleg's brat, saying it made resolving this very easy. He even congratulated Lucas for being so incredibly easy to manipulate. The Viscount ordered them to only capture the children of the 12 clans. As for the knights, he told them to kill every last one. Cordelia gritted her teeth, refusing to let him have his way. She could destroy the gravitational field with her witch power, but it was dangerous. Jude begged her not to do it, knowing the backlash would kill her. She didn't care because the lives of her friends meant everything. To her, Jude was the most important person in the whole world. She trusted that once she broke the field, he would handle everything. Jude was speechless, unable to find the words to stop her. He knew releasing her full witch power was their only desperate chance at survival. Now pay attention, this is the exact moment we have all been dreading. As the dark energy surged, Jude desperately screamed for her to stop. Jude begged her to stop, thinking about how she always sacrificed herself in battle. It was the same against Minos, and even back in the Witch Forest. He cursed at his own weakness, unable to keep up anymore. Suddenly, a thunderous roar shook the ground like a massive earthquake. The maid looked up in horror as the night sky literally tore open. A red flash of lightning slammed into the earth with unbelievable force. Cordelia stopped her power, feeling like the sun itself had just landed. It felt impossible, but the darkness was being burned away completely. You see that too, right? Someone just crashed the party in style. It was the legendary Red Flame Landius, the warrior of the sun. Instantly, the heavy gravity field shattered into 1,000 pieces. Jude turned around just as Lucas whispered that he had arrived. Lucas looked relieved, knowing they were finally safe from the Viscount. Jude asked if this was the man he had been waiting for. Lucas nodded, staring at the warrior with pure, unadulterated respect. Landius gathered energy in his left hand and sent his enemies flying away. The terrified Viscount ordered his men to only attack from distance. A storm of arrows and fire magic rained down on the warrior. Trust me, you and I are about to see a legend. All right, stick with me because this legend just roared like a lion, surging with insane energy. Unleashing a massive windstorm everywhere, Cordelia fought to stay grounded so she would not get blown away, but her footing slipped. The gale force wind sent her stumbling back as Dahlia reached out. Luckily, Jude was right there behind her to catch Cordelia in his arms. Staring at the chaos, Jude realized something absolutely wild. Landius was not even using real martial arts yet. He just punched the dirt and poured power into his roars. That alone wiped out the entire demon hand squad. See, this guy originally had a tragic end. He was a main hero in the first game. Of Legend of Heroes 1, Landius finally looked back and asked if they were okay. Suddenly, something grabbed his attention. Jude and Cordelia were just frozen, staring at him. Then the giant started walking toward them slowly, while Cordelia gripped Jude's shirt, looking absolutely terrified. Her hair had already shifted back to its normal state. He reached out his hand and told them he simply could not ignore that. Cordelia panicked and buried her face in Jude's chest. Now, watch this part closely. This was her first time feeling real terror since entering this game world. And Jude. He was just paralyzed, staring up at the 7-foot-plus giant towering right over them both. Landius grabbed Jude's shoulder and gave a massive grin, announcing something totally crazy. He wanted Jude to be his disciple. Jude was baffled, and Cordelia, she was totally lost. She was thinking, what the hell is actually going on? Landius offered him the ultimate prize next. He promised the 9 gates of the 9 heavens technique if Jude became his student. He could not ignore a kid born with that legendary heavenly martial constitution. This rare talent was a gift from the gods, but Jude's version was badly nerfed. His blocked 9 paths of yin had almost completely ruined all of this amazing potential. Normally, this trait gave him insane mastery over every close-quarters duel imaginable. He was supposed to be a master of every weapon, a true jack of all trades. Jude realized this meant he could learn basically any physical skill in the world. But in the original game, he never had the chance to learn this specific art. The 9 gates of the 9 heavens simply was not available in the original game. Now, stick with me here. This was not some basic skill. He tried to remember where he had heard of it before. Then Cordelia moved behind him and used magic to write on his shirt.